Recently, I have a chance to use transfer list. So this is what transfer list looks like. So you can see that I have a list of items on the left hand side. Once I select them, I have the option to move it to the right. And of course, I can choose the items on the right and move it all the way to the left, right? So I just thought that it would be cool to create a tutorial to just teach you how to create this transfer list functionality using Figma. So let me show you how to do it step by step. So right now I'm on Figma. So you can see that I have taken a screenshot and put it over here in my design file as a reference. So you can see that for this component, we will need to make use of the checkbox quite often. So to do that, I've already pre-created the checkbox. So if you're not sure how to create a checkbox, you can just check out this video of mine, how to create checkbox on Figma. It is really beginner friendly, as you can see. All right. So I'm going to put the link in the description below so you can just check it out if you want to find out how to create a checkbox on Figma. Okay, so I assume that you have this checkbox component ready, and I will get started. So to create this transfer list, I will have to use this checkbox somehow. So let me pull a checkbox in over here, and of course I will need to use a text functionality and put the first item. Let's call it list item 1. Okay, so for list item 1, I'm gonna select the checkbox and list item 1 and add auto layout. As for the gaps between the items, I'm gonna change it to 16px, so it look like this, right? So let me just copy and paste it a few more times. Okay, maybe let me copy and paste it like 3 times like this. Okay, list item 2 and list item 3. Now I'm gonna select all the rows and add the auto layout for all of them. And for the gaps between the items, vertical gaps between the items, I'm going to change it to 16px. Now for each row, now that I selected each row, I want to give each of them a padding left and right of 16px. For the entire frame, I would like to give them a vertical padding of 16px as well. Okay, once I'm done, I'm just going to call this frame left. Okay, now for this left frame, I'll need to give it a container. So I'm going to click on this left frame, right click on it, and give it another auto layout. Okay, let me just find the auto layout, right click, and okay, if you're using a Mac, just press a Shift A, okay, to create an auto layout. I'm going to call this a container. I'm going to copy this container. Let's call this a left container. Copy and paste it. Now for this right side, I'm going to call it a right container. Now the next missing piece is these 2 buttons, right? The buttons to indicate that I would like to move the items from the left to the right and the items from the right to the left. So to create this button, it's really simple. I just have to make use of this plugin. So the plugin that I normally like to use is called Iconify, right? You can just use Iconify and search for caret, or if you want to search for arrow, it's fine as well. But normally I use this thing called caret. Let me just select this one and paste it over here. For this one, I'm gonna have to make it point to the right. So this is the part that I have to rotate it, I think 90%, or this is rotating it to the left. To make it rotate to the other side, I'm gonna put a negative sign to flip it. Alright, now for the size wise, let me just change it to 16. Okay, so now that I have think of it like an arrow that's pointing to the right, click on the icons and click add auto layout. For this, I'm gonna give it a horizontal padding of 24px and a vertical padding of maybe 24px as well, and see what it looks. Oh, it looks quite ugly. Okay, let me give it, okay, because it has been rotated, I think I'll need to change the horizontal padding to 16. Okay, I know it sounds a little bit weird, but you gotta play around with this, right? So right now, even though it's horizontal padding, but it's the vertical padding that's being adjusted because we have rotated it, and we have used the rotation function, which is why things are flipped. Okay, let me change it to maybe 8px to make it look a little bit more like a button. Now, for this outline, let's change it and make it look a little bit grayish, and give it a border radius of 4px. Okay, let me select the entire buttons, copy the color for the outline, and replace the black color for the icons. Alright, now select this. Let me just rename it and call it a transfer button. Transfer button, right? So for the transfer button, I'm gonna copy and paste it again. Okay, never mind. I think what I will do is that I will create a component out of it for the transfer button. And then I will create a variant for the transfer button. Now for this transfer button, what I want to do is when I hover over it, it turns what color do you want it to be? So let's say we want it to turn blue, right? So to do that, let me just change the color to maybe blue, okay, like this, and give it a background color of white. Okay, for this, the one at the top as well, I want to give it a background color of white as well. Now, so this is the effect that I want when the button is clickable. Now when I hover over it, let me add another variant. I would like to add the background color to be light blue. So to do that, let me change the background color to light blue, like this. Okay, so this is going to be the hover effect. So to do that, I will have to select the button at the middle, click on prototype, and click on this plus icon and connect it over here. So instead of on click, I'm going to change it to while hovering. While hovering, change this. All right, now let me just move this down for the transfer button. Okay, for the transfer button, let me select all the buttons and click add variant as well. Now let me just tidy this whole thing up a little bit. For the entire 3 buttons, let me just move it up like this. For this whole button, I need to flip this to the left. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to change it from -90° to 90°. I'm going to do the same for these 2. Okay, now I flip it to the other side. All right. Now for the transfer button, normally I like to add another property, and I'm going to call it, maybe let's just call it type. All right. For the type itself, for the left hand side, I'm going to call it right to left. I mean left to right. Okay, L to R. For the right side, it's going to be right to left. For the first row, okay, let's click on the transfer button. For the second property, I'm going to call it state. And for the first row, I'm going to call it default. For the second row, I will call it selectable. And for the third row, I will call it hover. Okay, let's just double check that the right to left type, the hover button is working by clicking on prototype, so we can see that the interaction has been applied accordingly since we copied from the left hand side. Okay, now that we have the transfer button, here's what we're going to do. We're going to search for the transfer button on the assets, transfer button. So this is a transfer button. Let me drag it over here. First transfer button, let me copy and paste it. Now for the top transfer button, I want it to be from the left to the right, and the one at the bottom to be from the right to the left. So I will have to click on this one at the bottom, click the one at the bottom, and change the type from right to left. Okay, now for these two buttons, let me select both of them and right click and add auto layout and give vertical gaps between the items of maybe 16px. Okay, good. So now that we have the buttons, let me just rename it and call it buttons. I'm going to select the left container, buttons, and the right container, and right click on them and add auto layout. And I'm going to give vertical gaps for all of them, maybe 24px. All right. Now, there's a few things that's missing. You notice that for the left container, it doesn't have a background color yet. So for the background color, I'm going to give it a white background. For the right container, a white background as well. And just to make it a little bit obvious, I'm going to give it the outline of a grayish outline, right? So this is going to be the grayish outline, CCC. For this as well, a grayish outline. Make it look a little bit softer, I'm going to give it a border radius of 4px. Okay, now it looks slightly better. Okay, now, so this is going to be our first transfer list 1. Okay, now copy transfer list 1 and paste it. So this is transfer list 2. I call it transfer list 2. Now for transfer list 2, I want to simulate it like this. Let me see. Okay, sorry. For the one on the right hand side, let me just change it and call it item list 4, 5, and 6. Okay, let's change this accordingly. 4, 5, and 6. So it looks like this. Now for transfer list 2, I want to simulate the button being checked on the left hand side. So to do that, let me just turn the checkbox for list item 2, change it from default to checked. Okay, so the moment a single item is checked, i.e. selected, the transfer button from left to right is now selectable. So I'm going to select the transfer button, the one at the top, which is for left to right transfer, and change the state from default and change it to selectable. So it looks like this. Now I'm going to copy transfer list 2, copy and paste it. Now we have transfer list 3. For transfer list 3, I would just want to select the list item 3 and change the checkbox state from default to checked. Alright, cool. Now for transfer list 4, this is the state that I want it to be. I want the item from list item 2 and move it to this side, and I want it to be appended to the list instead. So to do that, all I have to do is to select list item 2, list item 3, and move it to this list over here. Okay, so now you can see that transfer list 4, it looks extremely ugly. It's super ugly. So what we're going to do is that we're going to select the left container, just select the left container and change the height from hug, vertical sizing, and change it to field container. Okay, change it like this. Now we want the state to be cleared, the checkbox state to be cleared the moment it has been moved over to the right hand side. So to do that, we're going to select the checkbox on the right hand side, the one that has been changed to a checked state, and change it back to a default state, right? And of course, right now, given that none of the checkbox is selected, we're going to select the checkbox right at the top over here and change the state from selectable and change it to default. So this is our end state. So now we're going to start to piece everything together. So how are we going to do that? So we're going to go to transfer list 1. For transfer list 1 to transfer list 2, we want to select the checkbox on the list item 2, click on prototype, and this time round I'm going to connect it to transfer list 2. Now the interaction is going to be on click because we want it to change this entire frame when we click on the checkbox to transfer list 2. So to do that, the interaction is on click. Instead of navigate to, we're going to change it to swap overlay. Alright, swap overlay. Okay, to be honest, just for this demonstration purpose, I can just actually use navigate to, but most of the time transfer list is going to be shown on a dialog, so which is why we're going to use swap overlay instead. Okay, just use swap overlay and it's going to be instant as the animations. Right, now for transfer list 2, I'm going to select the checkbox on list item 3 and connect it to transfer list item 3. Same interaction is going to be on click. Instead of navigate to, I'm going to change it to swap overlay. Make sure that the animation is instant. Now for transfer list 3 to transfer list 4, I'm going to connect the button, this button, the one at the top, transfer list button, connect it to transfer list 4. The interaction is going to be on click. So on click, I'm going to swap overlay to transfer list 4. Instantly swapped it. Alright, now let's look at how we're going to show this. Okay, let's assume that I don't have a starting flow. I'm going to click on transfer list 1, make sure you're on prototype, and click on flow starting point. Okay, I can just going to leave it as default flow 1. That's the default name. Now I'm going to click on this play prototype icon. Let's wait a moment. I'm going to open it on presentation view so you can see it clearly. Okay, let me make this a little bit bigger. Okay, now so we're going to try to simulate this. So how does that work? So let me click on list item 2. Okay, now you can see that this lighted up. I'm going to click on list item 3. Okay, and I'm going to click on this button to move it from the left hand side to the right hand side. So now it looks like this. So now that we have completed the transfer list component, I'm going to show you how we can actually use it in a real life scenario. So to do that, let's go back to our design file. So typically how a transfer list file is being used is we will have like a frame. Okay, so let's select a frame and maybe let's select a MacBook Air. Okay, a MacBook Air. So what happened is that, so this is a MacBook Air. So what happened is that we will have a list of items that we would like to transfer from left to right. Alright, so to do that, we typically have some sort of a button. Let's call this transfer button. Let me just create a super ugly button. Add auto layout, add, okay, whatever that is. Right, so this is a button. Okay, never mind, let me look a little bit nicer. Alright, a beautiful button. So now that I have a button, I would like to convert this transfer list 1, 2, and 3 into a what do you call that? A dialog. Alright, so to do that, let me select all of them and give them a padding on all sides, perhaps a 16px. Okay, and I'm going to give them a background fill of white color. So click on fill, let's put white color will do. Alright, so what we're going to do to show this, okay, let's change the border radius from 0 to 4px. Okay, I'm going to click on the transfer button, click on prototype, and connect it to the first transfer list dialog. This is going to be triggered on click. Instead of navigate to, I'm going to change it to open overlay. When I change it to open overlay, I would like to allow it to be closed when clicking outside, and I'd like to add a background color of maybe 50%. Okay, let's see how that works. Let me click on the entire frame. MacBook Air 1, and click on flow starting point. Now we have flow 2. Let me just rename it and call it a demo. Let me play it over here. Oh man, this looks extremely ugly, but whatever. Let me click on transfer button. So it's going to open up a dialog that looks like this, and then all you have to do is to select a list item, select another list item, and transfer it from the left to the right like this. So there you have it. So that's how you're going to use it in the real life scenario. So I hope you find this video useful. If you find this video useful, don't forget to give this a like, subscribe to the channel, because I'll be posting more of this kind of practical implementations for Figma, so that you can use it in the real life scenarios for your hobbies or for your jobs. Right? I'll see you in the next video.